Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. We record these interviews so potential buyers have more information about the seller and the business to help them make a buying decision. Today, we'll be talking about an Amazon FBA business for sale, and I have the seller with me today. So, welcome to the show, Ed. It's great to have you here, and how are you doing?
Hi, Vinny. Yeah, very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about your business. It's a pretty interesting one that you've made. And just before we dive into the deeper details, let me give a very brief summary of the listing. So today's business is an Amazon FBA business that was created in January 2020 in the beauty niche. The average monthly revenue for the business is $98,506, and it makes an average of $31,205 per month in net profit. The assets included in the sale are the Amazon Seller Central account with 2 SKUs, domains and all of their sites, contents and files, a trademark, an Instagram account, and supplier contracts and relationships. Please note that inventory isn't normally included in the listing price and further details can be provided to active buyers. And please also note that buyers should have an active VAT number in all UK, EU countries where this business has inventory stored before the transfer can finalise. It's highly recommended to begin the VAT registration as soon as possible if you are interested in acquiring this asset. Head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 53095 to learn more about the business. And if you want to start your due diligence, just remember to unlock the listing first. So that's just a very general overview about the business. But let's find out about yourself, Ed. I mean, you're the one who created this business. Can you share with me what your experience is in building or running online businesses?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. So a little bit of background about myself then. So I started my e-commerce journey. I started building my first business online almost a decade ago now. So at the age of 19 years old, that would have made me, if you can believe. And we started life on eBay at first, and I began building a personalized gift business, which at the time obviously was very small size. Now, within a couple of years, we'd grown quite a lot, and we obviously saw the potential of migrating our product range to Amazon as well. And we ran an FBM model, so we were actually finishing, so kind of manufacturing, finishing products in-house and fulfilling them ourselves with our own kind of dispatch network. And that business is still running today. It's now kind of quite hands-off for me. I've got an operational management team in place, a fantastic production team, and they run it without too much of my input, which is great for me. But what I learned along the journey of being an Amazon FBM seller was, I was learning how much potential there is on the Amazon marketplace and seeing the headaches of having an FBM business, which include the operational management. Every time you scale up, you need more warehouse space. Because we were in manufacturing, we needed more staff, more manufacturing equipment, and so on. And therefore, it made the scaling process a lot slower than it could have been if it was FBA. And I kind of had this thought in my mind for a number of years. I knew that with the skills I'd learned in Amazon selling, optimization, PPC, brand creation, ultimately driving conversion and bringing those sales in, I felt strongly that I could scale up a brand, a quality brand, much faster through the FBA model. So that time finally came. January 2020, I had enough free time to refocus my efforts onto the FBA model. And that's what we did. We took an analytical approach to finding a product that has great demand, relatively low competition at the time, and something where we felt we could add real value. That was key for us, was to bring a brand to market that consumers were really going to fall in love with. And that's where we came across this product and this niche. And it's been performing exceedingly well and brings us to where we are.
Yeah, that's a fantastic introduction. It's funny about the timing as well. You're saying about January 2020. It sounds like a hell of a New Year's resolution. It probably isn't why you started this business, but just coincidentally. But no, I think you've pretty much summed up exactly why you started a business with FBA because like you said, it kind of answered some of the pains of trying to scale a brand with FBM, and in particular in the beauty niche as well. It sounds like, I mean, like there was the opportunity rather than because you had a particular affinity for any of these products or anything like that, right?
Yeah, sort of. And there's a bit of a funny story there as well. So, as I mentioned, we definitely took an analytical approach to making sure we bring something to market where we had the potential to scale and succeed. We didn't want to launch into a super saturated niche and find difficulties in competing and trying to scale. But at the same time, we actually came across this product because at the time, my girlfriend was saying, look, she would love to try and get involved and create something with me. Now, she doesn't have an e-commerce background, but something that she has a lot of passion for is beauty products, beauty and personal care kind of products, and something that she knows a lot about. And so, we started looking into this niche and this particular product. And it was a different variant of the product that, in fact, she had a keen interest in. But that particular variant we found it would have been too saturated for us to try and scale at any particular speed and to really add a differential and some value to the consumer. And we stumbled across this product and said, wow, not only do we have huge amounts of scope to add value and bring something fantastic to the market, but there is massive demand and it's currently underserved. And, it was at the time, it was underserved. And that's where we were like, right, so we'll jump in. And, we started product testing. We made sure we got the best of everything that we could. We tested it on tons of different people, made sure everyone was happy with it. And that's kind of how it came to life. So it was, 90%, analytically driven, but also sent passion from my girlfriend to say, well, look, I've got a lot of knowledge of this niche and I'd love to launch within it.
Yeah, I mean, just don't listen to this because maybe she might turn around and say, well, actually, it was 90% my idea because I know the products and 10% you. But
that's it. She's already trying to tell me this. So
that's it, yeah. I mean, that's all in jest. But obviously, going back to the business and its history, you've built up a really huge brand in a very short space of time, which is fantastic. But our listeners will be wondering why you're selling the business right now instead of staying with it and growing it.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. So, and it's a common question and one that's completely understandable. And the reason for my exit at this stage, because the business where it's at, it's seen phenomenal growth in a short amount of time, as you mentioned there, but it's also got so much more growth yet to be done. And so staying with it would provide, me with still so much more benefit. The reason for the exit now is because I'm actually looking to repeat this process. As I mentioned at the beginning, I always felt strongly that my knowledge of the space would hopefully allow me to try and bring great quality products to market and scale them efficiently. And I believe this brand has proven that, in fact, is true. And I've enjoyed it massively. Of my 10-year career in e-commerce, this has been my favorite 18 months, hands down, without a doubt. And I can't wait to do it again. Now, what's really important is in order to do it again, I need more capital. I want to launch multiple brands across multiple niches, bringing value and quality to the customer and scaling them efficiently. And this will allow me to access the capital to do that and bring more and more products to life into the market and hopefully realize more successful exits in the future.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like you say, this is almost like a bit of an experiment and one that's pulled off and gone well and proved your hypothesis that on how to scale an FBA business quickly. So it makes sense that you'd like to repeat the process and raise capital to do that and accelerate that journey. So I mean, let's just dive into a bit of your experience then. Like, while you were building this FBA business, is there anything that you learned that you'd apply to future FBA businesses?
Yeah, I feel like I've learned all sorts, and it's hard to even put that into a nutshell because it's been a journey. It feels like it's been, on the one hand, it feels like it's been longer than 18 months, and on the other hand, it feels like it's been the blink of an eye. And I've learned a ton of things somewhere in the middle of that. But the main thing that struck me, and it brings me back to the question prior about why we're doing this exit, was capital. And ultimately one of the biggest pain points of trying to launch this, we weren't massively tight on capital. I've got another business and we had some access to cash, and that made the process a little more streamlined than perhaps somebody starting from scratch. But we didn't have endless money by any means. And when we started to actually scale this at speed, which was great, we found that cash constraints were the thing that slowed it down. We probably could have scaled it even faster. But in the very early days, we sold out before we could even imagine we would have sold out. The first batch went in the blink of an eye. We were out of stock and we were out of cash. And we thought, okay, wow, that went well, but we need to find a better way to do this. And the answer to that was we needed more cash. So the biggest learning for me is that this can be a capital intensive process, scaling from the very start. And you need to be ready for that in order to be able to do it. And that, like I say, that brings me to where we are.
Yeah, that's a fair enough point. I mean, there's all the optimization with SEO and ad campaigns and product market fit and stuff. But even if you found a winning formula, I guess, unfortunately, cash and capital can be the hard bottleneck if you want to make it grow any quicker.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. And I guess that would be true of any business model, never mind just the e-commerce model, but that was the pain point, I guess I'd say. Not that it was particularly painful, but it's certainly a learning curve to say, okay, if you want to scale at speed, you need to be ready and willing to spend cash. So that's where we are.
Makes sense. Was there any software or tools that you used to just help you streamline or even accelerate the growth of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm a big advocate of the Helium 10 suite of tools. We've used it all the way through from idea inception to the launching and scaling to general monitoring and management of the business. I actually keep that in my pocket all the time as something that I can just glance at to have a look at how we're doing daily on the profits, how we're doing daily on our keyword tracking. And it allows me, without really too much headache, to have a very quick snapshot on any given day or any given week of exactly how we're performing. If we're improving in our keyword rank, if we need to do any further optimization to improve it further. And I'd say, it's been an absolute godsend to have that tool in our pocket. And then as we've advanced further into the business and we wanted a bit more granular detail on the numbers, which becomes more and more important, especially as we eye up an exit, we utilize the seller board software because they build out an incredibly detailed P&L, which has been great for us and for our accounting and for our ability to make sure that we feel like we're going to realize the right value. So yeah, those two pieces together are some great tools.
No, that's a really good shout. I think a lot of people in the FBA space can agree that, yeah, those are really great tools. I guess on the other side of things, did you find that you tried anything that didn't give you the ROI that you were hoping for?
Yeah, for sure. So, there's been other products that we tried. We actually initially ventured into the USA market, very early days in 2020. And in fairness, it did actually go quite well, but we had a US based supplier as well. So we were selling in the US from the US, but obviously we didn't have any feet on the ground over there being based in the UK. And when COVID hit, the supply chains dried up very quickly, particularly because it was, the early stages of COVID where nobody knew what was happening or what would continue to happen. So when the supply chains dried up, we had to pause the product and we didn't really reignite it. It had been paused for so long that we thought the investment to relaunch it might not be worth it. We refocused. This is when we actually decided to refocus our efforts in the UK and bring something to life over here instead.
Gotcha. Which marketplaces is the business selling in right now?
The business is selling in the UK and Europe.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess, for people who are just starting off in FBA or want to venture into this space for the first time, what advice would you give to any of the listeners who, want to start their own brand?
My advice would be get started. This sounds almost cliche, but there's never been a better time. Amazon has been an online retail giant for as long as we can all remember, but particularly through the events of the past 12, 18 months, a lot less physical retail is happening. And as we all know, e-commerce is accelerating at a speed that nobody ever would have predicted that it would. We've had 2 or 3 years growth in 12, 18 months. Amazon is picking up the majority of that growth, and it's providing so much opportunity for sellers on Amazon to create brands. And the key thing, and this is something that I couldn't stress enough to a newcomer to FBA, the key thing that I think separates my brand from many others and would separate a newcomer as well if they want to give it a go is focus on quality. Don't just be blinded by data and think, oh, well, this product's got demand, so we'll rush it to market and we'll bring something quickly and it'll be nice and cheap and everyone will buy it. This is still a product. You're still trying to delight your customer. And if you bring something different, unique, with great packaging, great branding, and a fantastic end result, then your customers are going to come back for more. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to expand your brand for you. So the focus on quality is the key.
Yeah, I think that's really solid advice there. Like you said, it's hard to encapsulate that all in one nugget, but like you said, there's never been a better time to start than right now, for sure. I want to ask you, in terms of marketing, where does the majority of the traffic come from? Is it paid advertising or is there any organic aspect to it?
There's both, basically. So when we first launched, we were quite aggressive with our Amazon PPC, the paid traffic, to make sure that we got as much footfall as we could, as much physical space as we could on the platform to drive those conversions and drive those sales. And the strategy worked very well. But as time went on, we were able to ease off on the PPC and allow the organic sales to pick it up. Now, the other interesting thing with this brand is from the early days, it was eligible for Amazon's program, which is called Accelerator Program, which I'm sure many people listening will have familiarity with how that works. But in the UK, this program has been, I guess you'd say it's under like a beta trial mode, which is maybe not quite the right way to put it, but it's not been kind of cemented and finalized. And because of that, we didn't really want to rely fully on it because the marketing placements that they deliver were intermittent. So under the program, they will deliver marketing placements for you in return for an additional commission fee. But we didn't lean on it in the early days, from launch all the way through till, I think, November 2020. We were running our own marketing, at which point we actually were told, if you switch off your own marketing, we will switch on some of ours. You can't run them concurrently and see how they perform for your product. So we switched off our advertising and theirs did not come on. And we ran solely off organic traffic through the peak season of Q4. And despite having no PPC and no paid marketing at all, we still retained, purely off the organic sales, we still retained the #1 bestseller badge. And at the time, I think up to as many as 36 Amazon's Choice badges across different keywords. So even just running organic, this product is fantastic. There is huge amounts of opportunity for an experienced PPC team, sponsored video, sponsored brands, headline display, competitor targeting, etc. There's a huge amount of room there for additional sales growth.
Gotcha. And we'll touch on the other opportunities in just a moment. But I want to ask you, as an extension of, because that gives us an idea of what the marketing side of things are like. Can you describe what your day-to-day looks like, or even what your week-to-week looks like?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, the great thing about this particular business model, and I guess I alluded to this right at the start of our chat, it's not massively hands-on. And I almost hate saying that because as a businessman myself, as somebody who's worked really hard to build businesses from over the past 10 years, sometimes people say, what business can I get into that's really hands-off? And I always think, you're asking the wrong question. That feels like a lazy approach. You should always want to be hands-on. But the reality here is this business is as low touch point, I guess, as you could possibly ask for. So my day-to-day or week-to-week is basically mostly consisting of monitoring tasks. Now that the product is launched, it's mature, it's stable, it's got fantastic sales. The majority of my tasks involve liaising with the supplier to make sure that we're keeping our inventory in stock and double-checking our keyword ranking positions, running Amazon deals periodically, making sure that they're all lined up. But overall, these things aren't time-intensive tasks. It's relatively hands-off.
Yeah, gotcha. I think you've mentioned that you've got teams working underneath you who basically help you manage the day-to-day, operational side of things, right?
Well, what's interesting is this business and this brand, I have no team behind me. This is a one-man operation. At the size that it is, this takes just me, and it only takes a few hours a week. The teams that I referenced earlier, that's my other business. It has nothing to do with this at all. So this is just a one-man thing.
Gotcha. Thanks for clarifying that. I guess on that note then, if someone was interested in acquiring your business, what would you advise are some of the skills or requirements they should be aware of if they want to hit the ground running and they're not familiar with, FBA or the beauty niche?
Yeah. So, if the buyer wasn't particularly familiar with FBA, the skills are very transferable. The basic skills to keep this running and to keep it growing are definitely very transferable. As I mentioned, a lot of it's maintaining and monitoring. But to take this business to the next level and start to scale it out, the buyer will want to have familiarity or be able to hire the familiarity for Amazon PPC, assuming that they want to run their own marketing on the platform. It would be wise to have familiarity with how to run strategic PPC campaigns, which can drive more traffic and build more growth. Outside of that, it's relatively straightforward management tasks. Like I say, looking after suppliers, liaising with them, and making sure that our inventory levels are staying nice and high.
That's great stuff. You were mentioning about potential opportunity before. If you did stay with a business, Ed, what would be some of the ways you'd think about trying to expand the business?
Yeah, so if I was keeping this brand on, if we weren't eyeing up a sale, we already have things in motion to see some fantastic growth. So the first thing is, as I mentioned before, we're currently on the UK EU marketplace, but we're only actually transacting in the UK. And the only reason that we haven't yet launched into what Amazon call EU5, which is the top 5 revenue performance EU countries, is because as a business here, we're actually still waiting on our EU-wide VAT registration, which just takes a little bit longer than it does in the UK. So we're probably 4 to 6 weeks out from it being ready to go live. We have already had all of the content, so the title, bullet points, description, the text that sits within the images, the A+ content, etc. We've had all of that professionally translated into French, Spanish, Italian, and German. And that's been done by Amazon's chosen partner for translations. They're called Mother Tongue. So we have all of the content formatted and ready to go live in France, Spain, Italy, Germany, which are the biggest revenue marketplaces outside of the UK. in this region. And as soon as we have our VAT compliance in those regions, we will be ready to launch. Now, any buyer of this brand may well already have those registrations in place, in which case they could launch them on day one. And because you can actually localize the reviews between the UK and the EU, because it's considered the same region in Amazon's terms, you can launch hitting the ground running. What will be happening is when this product launches in those marketplaces, it will have the highest, if not near the highest review count, the highest review quality. And this may sound a little biased, but for sure the best branding, the best content quality. And we feel that much like we're the number one bestseller in our category here in the UK, we can very quickly achieve that position across those other 4 regions as well. With, of course, further scope for some of the newer Amazon marketplaces, including the Netherlands, Poland, Sweden, etc., which are now all available. So there's some fantastic growth opportunities there. And we have analyzed the data for demand in those marketplaces, and the demand is very strong. Outside of this, we also have not even touched the USA, Canada, Mexico markets. And the demand in these regions is also very strong. With the same principle applying, if we can localize the reviews, we have very strong branding, we can hit the ground running. There's no reason we can't see some serious growth in this product quite quickly.
Yeah, no, that's definitely great to hear. Again, on the other side of things, as you're very aware, all businesses have inherent risk in them. What would you say are some of the biggest risks with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
I mean, to be honest, it can be a difficult question to answer. I would say all Amazon businesses carry the same risk. So I don't think that this particular product carries any additional risk to any other. Reason that I say that is because we have, I guess the best way to describe it, or the way that I would describe it, is a deep moat, meaning that we are in the UK at the moment. The revenue of this product is between 6 and 10 times higher than the next nearest competitor. The branding that we've brought to market, the level of reviews that we've obtained means that we are standing out head and shoulders above. We see a huge level of risk in this playing field where we think a new competitor could come to market and pick up loads of our market share. They've been trying and they've been failing. So we don't see a huge level of risk there. But any Amazon FBA business carries the same risk. And that would be, Amazon have terms, they have policies, and some of them, and I say this with a little bit of jest, but I'm sure other sellers will feel my pain. Amazon can be quite I don't know what the best way to describe it is, but they can be unhelpful sometimes. Certain random blocks can come into place and maybe put a temporary pause on your revenue stream. They're always overcomable, but these are things that Amazon do. And so, like I say, if any buyers are listening that are already an Amazon seller, a big Amazon seller, they will know exactly what I'm talking about and they will feel this pain. Any potential buyers listening who aren't already Amazon sellers, that's the risk of Amazon. They have policies to follow, and although, of course, we follow them, sometimes you can still fall foul of random automated spot checks that perhaps make life a little bit more difficult, but it's never not solvable.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think that's probably quite a generic risk when you rely on any internet giant, really, whether you're relying on Google for their SEO or, like you said, Amazon for their marketplace and adhering to their terms and services. So that's definitely a common one that comes up a lot when we ask this question. I mean, there's just the last few questions from me here. How much support are you offering buyers?
So I'm quite flexible with the support that I'm offering. And I don't wish to be vague in saying this, but it depends on what the buyer wants. And so, I've had this discussion a number of times. I'm happy to have a standard handover period, 30 days, 60 days, or whatever the buyer might want. And this depends on the buyer's level of experience and input. So if we've got professional buyers or, consolidators looking to come in and pick up the brand and add it to their portfolio, then there's a high chance perhaps that they don't really need me. They've got fantastic teams of their own, and they're more than happy to pick it up and take it on themselves. Conversely, if we have buyers perhaps less well experienced in the FBA space and they feel that they need me, I'm happy to stay on for a longer period as long as the terms are suitable.
It's great to hear. Are you willing to commit to a non-compete?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
And are you open to negotiating something like an earn-out?
I'm open to it, yeah. Much like my answer to the previous question, I'm quite flexible. So, for us, we're looking for majority cash up front because, as I alluded to earlier, we're looking to get back out into the marketplace, obviously outside of our non-compete in different niches, and build new brands and do what I do best and what I love doing. So preferably, majority cash up front is what we're looking for. But at the same time, I'm very much open and flexible to discussing a sensible term earn-out over a period of time.
Fantastic. Last question from me then. If you put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why would you say that this is a business worth buying?
Yeah, sure. So, this business just has already such incredible numbers behind it. It actually has all things behind it. And again, I don't wish to sound biased saying this, but not only does the data speak for itself, we've launched into a niche where we've become the number one bestseller, multiple Amazon's Choice badges, strongest revenue by far, fantastic numbers, fantastic net margins. And we've done so in a very short period of time. But this journey and this acceleration is still happening. As I've mentioned before, we're still waiting for the EU launch, for the North American launch. We're still looking at huge amounts of gaps that haven't been filled in PPC strategy and sponsored brand activity that could drive much more traffic and therefore much more conversion on the product. So even the brand in today's terms, today's numbers, is a fantastic performing brand. Absolutely brilliant. And it will be an asset to anybody's portfolio or to somebody who wants to start out in FBA. This is a great place to start. But on top of that, you've got this incredible potential for regional growth and PPC growth, which is yet to be tapped into. And on top of all of that, as I said before, for an experienced buyer, they can pick it up and they can do these things immediately. And for a less experienced buyer, I'm happy to stay on for that journey as long as the terms compensate me for doing. And so I can help them roll it out with my experience. So I think overall, this package is a fantastic package. It's a fantastic portfolio addition, or it's fantastic for somebody looking to come into FBA and really hit the ground running with some great numbers.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. Thanks for sharing that. Is there anything you'd like to share that you think I might have missed?
No, I think we've covered quite a lot. So no, happy with that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me in today's interview. I do hope that your business gets picked up by the right buyer in the very near future.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate that.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 53095. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked the listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about the business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.